My name is Sharon Wedderburn, and I am a candidate in the special election for the 43rd Assembly District, Brooklyn, New York, the mighty, mighty 43rd. The 43rd Assembly District encompasses the communities of Crown Heights, Prospect Lefferts Gardens, a smidge of Flatbush, and a small slice of East Flatbush. But generally, it's a neighborhood and communities that have proud residents. They refer to themselves as the mighty, mighty 43rd. We are diverse in race, age, sex, socioeconomic status. We live in townhouses. We live in large apartment buildings. We live in smaller apartment buildings. And a few of us live Brooklyn in the world that is the stoop. If you want to find out what's going on, ask somebody that's sitting on the stoop in the summertime, because people don't do that in the wintertime. So I want to say that the reason why I am interested in being the next representative for the 43rd Assembly District is this is my home. This was the community that I was raised in. My parents are Jamaican immigrants, and they had the privilege of making this their home for many, many years. My mother will tell you that she's only lived in zip code 11213. She was able to transition from a one-bedroom apartment, herself and my father, right? Then they had two children, needed a larger apartment, and we moved into subsidized housing. And then they were able to buy a home after my father completed his education. So there's some key values that they imbued in myself and my sister. One was your education was really important. And we were able to go to a quality elementary school that was the foundation of our learning, walking distance of our home. Right now, that's something that's not so easy. In talking about affordability, because they were able to buy a home on their salary, because my mom was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. That's something now that oftentimes a single income is not adequate for rent, much less a mortgage. And one of the things that you want to do is to live in a safe community where people have a stake. So myself running, I know this community inside and out. There are places that I love that remind me so much of my childhood that I've shared with my nieces and my grandnephew. And it's someplace like Brower Park, where you have a great school, you have a lovely playground, you have the Brooklyn Children's Museum. What could say family more than that? And then strolling back home, we have the opportunity to grab a snack. And one of the snacks is at Tropical House of Bakery, which bakes the best beef patties. And it's been a business that's been around, I can remember it. So I'm going to say at least 40 years. So we want to maintain a community that is livable and workable. And you're going to need an ardent advocate. I don't come from this as being a politician. What I come from is that I've been a community advocate around land use issues, around youth and education, around public safety, and helping some of my older neighbors navigate things like how can they get services that they need, because oftentimes you need a navigator. And as an assembly person, not only am I going to be involved in writing legislation, which bills and laws are really an answer to what we observe as local problems, but also in our budget, there's budget lines that can be applied to things in our community that we don't have too many of. For example, my advocacy around youth and education means that I want children to be able to excel inside and outside the classroom. A child may not be the best student, but they're a better athlete or a better musician, making sure they have access to those kinds of things. Other things that you might want to consider is that we're absent community hubs. And especially in the time of pandemic, the personal connection is really important. You never know where someone can be an adult for an older child, for a young child, or an adult, because sometimes you actually have to see people that are interested in doing what you're doing gathered around a common purpose. And for us, what that's the best part is that we can live in a safe, likable, walkable, desirable community. And that means not being fearful of the streets that you run through. So Sharon Wedderburn, March 22nd, 43rd AD, someone who was born and raised in the community, who will be your best advocate in Albany.